Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video I'm going to be going over my thoughts and predictions for Secret Weapon 9 at ALTON Towers Resort. Now if you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, anything makes me know you guys like my content, and without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I'm talking about Secret Weapon 9 so early, and that is because ALTON Towers right now are in a very good position. Obviously after SW8 in 2018 they have been releasing constant attractions every single year, so it is very safe to assume that SW9 could be right around the corner, or at least it could be coming a lot sooner than any of us expected. Okay, so moving swiftly then into my first theory for SW9, I actually have a multi-launch coaster. Now obviously recently multi-launch coasters have kind of come on the rise, obviously with Icon at Blackpool Pleasure Beach and also Taron at Fantasyland, both doing extremely well. It's not out of the blue for someone like Merlin to start considering this, and I did actually mention this in my thought part video a couple of weeks back, because yeah, I just generally think at one of these Merlin parks at some point we will be seeing a multi-launch coaster. Okay, so in terms of theming for this ride, I do actually have a couple of ideas. Now obviously this does really depend on whereabouts this would be located in the park. Obviously with ALTON Towers, they do really like to push their, different themed areas. Obviously you've got like the Dark Forest, X Sector, Forbidden Valley, but the most likely place I could probably see this is actually Forbidden Valley. I'll get onto that in a second, where exactly I think it could be going, but yeah, I do actually have kind of an interesting theory for this. Now there is one main key theme I do want to transport over to this ride, and that is actually Phalanx. Now Phalanx actually had quite a big history with Forbidden Valley before. Obviously we had Nemesis, then we had Nemesis Sumter, and now over the last couple of Scarefests, I was about to say Fright Nights then, over the last couple of Scarefests we actually have gotten the Scare Maze Project 42. All of these attractions are connected by one company called Phalanx. Now obviously a lot of ALTON Towers fans out there will most likely know what Phalanx is, but for those that don't, pretty much the team that was behind, capturing the Nemesis egg in Subterra and sort of excavating Nemesis in the first place is actually called Phalanx. And obviously with a lot of people having mixed opinions on Nemesis Subterra, I kind of want to twist it on its head and make it into a roller coaster. Now, it's going to sound very weird, but hear me out. Now, for those that don't know the story of Nemesis Sumter, pretty much you're invited to this sort of test facility by Phalanx to go and check out a egg from the Nemesis species. Now, obviously, this all goes wrong and all hell breaks loose, and it's almost like a drop tower mixed in with a scare maze. And yeah, I would really love to experience this, but obviously, unfortunately, it isn't at Towers anymore, which yeah, is kind of unfortunate. However, I know there are a lot of people that did enjoy this, so bringing this to life in a roller coaster could be a very smart move for Towers. Not only would it develop on the overall Nemesis narrative itself, but it would also bring back a lot of fans that didn't like Nemesis Subterra and sort of introduce them back into the story in a way they can enjoy it a lot more. Now obviously it doesn't necessarily mean that this would be a direct remake of Nemesis Subterra, but in roller coaster form it could be sort of along the lines of something like Project 42, just something along the lines of the sort of feel that Nemesis Subterra gave, the whole sort of test facility and the fact that these are like aliens and stuff, like something like that would be very cool for a coaster, especially in Forbidden Valley, where we have got kind of like a mixed roster of coasters. Obviously we've got Nemesis, which is a really dark sort of alien theme, then you've got Galactica right next to it. It doesn't really fit for me, and yeah, I feel like something like this could really complete the area as a whole, and obviously potentially we could also see a teaser maze at Scarefest. Now in terms of the locations for this coaster, I obviously want it to be in Forbidden Valley somewhere, and I do actually have two particular locations I think this attraction should be. Now the first one is just behind the former site of Ripsaw. There does seem to be a huge spot of land there spanning right across the back of the park. Whether or not it's actually available for Towers to develop on, I don't know, but a space like this would kind of expand Forbidden Valley in a way we haven't really seen before, and also it's a little bit hilly, so it may be quite difficult to sort of map out the terrain and stuff. But yeah, it could be a very cool place to have it. Obviously, maybe having the entrance to the sort of mini little area for it, back where Ripsaw was originally, having like a little maybe pathway leading down there. And the second potential location I have for this is actually on the former site of Project 42 or Nemesis Subterra. Now this is actually kind of a smaller space, however, multi-launch coasters don't necessarily need a lot of space. Obviously they are generally quite compact, and obviously that really does help with their speed and it does help with the sort of theming. So yeah, potential space like this, especially if it was to connect with Subterra, would be very cool. Okay, so moving on into the next theory then, I have a 4D wing coaster. Now obviously back when the Swarm was being developed over at Thorpe Park, in the early stages of planning, Thorpe actually did want to create this ride as a 4D coaster, and then after a while they just settled it on it being a wing coaster, and they knew that would kind of draw in a lot of the crowds anyway, so they kind of gave it a pass. Now something like this actually does cost quite a bit of money, and in terms of, you know, how financially good Alton Towers are at the moment, I think they may actually be able to pull this off. If you don't know what a 4D coaster would entail, pretty much the way that this would work would be very, very weird. Now, we haven't actually really seen too many of these in the world, really. So if Merlin were to pull this off, I think this could be a huge marketing point for them, being one of the only 4D coasters in the world. Because, yeah, obviously, Merlin love their world first. Like, why wouldn't they make it into one? But, yeah, pretty much what this would entail it would have a lot of screens, much like how we see, like, these 4D simulator rides in places like Orlando and Disneyland and stuff like that. It would be extremely similar to that. However, you would have a roller coaster on it. So yeah, it's a really, really interesting theme. Now I can see why Merlin did try to go for it with the Swarm. Obviously, with it being like a, you know, war zone, having a 4D coaster could have been very, very cool. But yeah, it would just mean that over the course of the ride, you see like special effects and stuff going off that aren't actually happening, but you think they're happening because you're wearing 4D goggles. Okay, so in terms of theming for this ride, I do actually kind of want to connect this to the Dark Forest. Now obviously there's been a lot of talk recently about Rita potentially getting removed in the next couple of years, and I do think a ride like this could be its perfect replacement. Now obviously with wing coasters in the Merlin industry, obviously with the Swarm at Thorpe Park, obviously at Gardaland they also have a similar wing coaster, and they pretty much transported some of the cars over from Gardaland over into obviously the UK, and they just kind of mixed and matched them up a little bit and kind of tweaked them a tiny bit to make them, you know, kind of, you know, fit the Swarm theme. And I could see a similar thing happening here, you know, customising it maybe to look like a dark evil entity within the Dark Forest. Now yeah, I think a 4D element for a ride could really work in the Dark Forest. Obviously it could potentially be more of an indoor coaster, maybe kind of themed around Hex or something like that. But yeah, I do think there is a lot of potential for something like this happening in the Dark Forest. Now, in terms of location for the Dark Forest, I could, like I said, potentially see this in Rita's spot. Obviously, not too many people hold Rita as a high coaster anymore, and to be fair, I can definitely see it get removed recently, or at least very, very soon in the future. So that does leave us at the end of the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy. There will be no Battle of the Coaster this week, mainly because I haven't really had time to make it, and it was kind of a squeeze to put this video out in the first place. So yeah, that will be carrying on as normal next week, hopefully. But yeah, so without further ado, I will see you guys later.